I've been traveling to Florida, Connecticut, New York to introduce the concepts and to get people to do something, do more. We just want to help Jewish families and especially, again, Jewish kids who are suffering from anti-Semitism. Don't think they're not suffering. They are, and half of them are probably keeping it to themselves.
Welcome to What Came After. I'm your host, Manya Marcus. On What Came After, we'll take a look at the many ways people's lives have changed since the brutal massacre in Israel on October 7th, 2023. We'll be speaking to people around the world to learn how this profound moment in Jewish and global history continues to shift, shape, and change them. To learn more, please visit us at whatcameafter.com. It is September 4th, 2025, and I am here with Lynne and Harlene Lichter-Galen. I am really delighted to be with the both of you. You are the co-authors of Countering Anti-Semitism and Hate, a how-to guide for youth, ages 8 to 18, family, and educators. The first thing I want to do is ask both of you to tell us about this book and how the project came to be.
Thank you for coming to New Jersey. This has been quite a journey for Harlene and I, a labor of love. We have worked together at the Kidsbridge Youth Center for 21 years, and Harlene can tell you more about her contributions to help us as a professor, as a teacher, as a principal, to help us attain evidence-based anti-bias education. What does that mean? It means the programs work. It means the kids are learning something. It means it's fun and informative. So that background and foundation is what we have done together for all kids. But then, right before COVID, the Federation asked me to do a listening session to parents about anti-Semitism. And you know, anti-Semitism is always a problem for millennia, but I agreed to conduct the listening session. And what I heard was that anti-Semitism is really a problem. And I knew this because, and I won't name schools in my area, but always hearing about anti-Semitism in private schools and public schools, some schools handling it well and some schools not handling it well. And so I listened. Parents didn't know what to do. Grandparents didn't know what to do. So I turned to Harlene and I said, we need to do something. With what we know and what we've learned, we need to help Jewish children.
Harlene, can you tell us a little bit about Kidsbridge? It sounds like it was not specifically a program for Jewish children.
No, it was a program for all children. We start with 3-year-olds and go up through age 18. We focus primarily, though, on the 3-year-old through middle school ages. We also are involved with training parents and teachers along with their children. And it's a general population. We were situated in Trenton, which is one of New Jersey's low-income areas, but our students and teachers and parents came from all over New Jersey and parts of Pennsylvania.
And what was the programming there?
The programming was really anti-bias, against prejudice for all different groups, not just Jewish children. There are basics that can be taught as long as they're developmentally appropriate to children from different backgrounds and of different ages.
So, Lynne, at the beginning of the book, you emphasized that the book itself was written prior to October 7th. Obviously, the need for this book has only increased. What led you to really take these steps before October 7th? You're saying even pre-COVID it was obvious. Was there any increase in anti-Semitism that you were aware of since the beginning of COVID, or did you just know in 2019 that this was a project you wanted to take on?
Harlene and I both knew it was a problem in the youth center where we're addressing bias and bullying and harassment and intimidation for all kids. Circling back to myself hearing in my area of anti-Semitism, primarily in the middle schools and high schools. And I did a couple of interventions helping the Federation where they go into the schools. There was actually in nearby high school a Jewish group where Jewish parents got together and pushed back against anti-Semitism. So I'm hearing this all through the years as we're writing our book. It's a guidebook, but it took about 2 years to write. We are trying to, in addition to the guidebook, get into shuls, hadassahs, federations, and Jewish agencies. Why? to open the ears and the hearts of Jewish grandparents, parents, kids, and educators. So by Zoom, we can Zoom anywhere on the planet and also in person. I've been traveling to Florida, Connecticut, New York to introduce the concepts and to get people to do something, do more as Jews, because the guidebook is something that can be used once a week. It can be used in classrooms and religious school classrooms. And we just want to help Jewish families, and especially, again, Jewish kids who are suffering from anti-Semitism. Don't think they're not suffering. They are, and half of them are probably keeping it to themselves. So we're there to help people. Check out our website, jewishupstanders.org, and we want to help you. So the guidebook, it took a while. But of course, with the war in Gaza, it's been getting worse and children are suffering. And so what Harlene and I are here to say is you can do something. We don't want to be bystanders and just shuffling off. We are proud Jews. We're proud of our identity. We shouldn't be slinking off. And most importantly, our Jewish kids are suffering. And what I see and what Harlene sees in the Jewish landscape is addressing the needs of adults. We're not here to help the adults, and I'm being purposely dramatic. We want to help the kids who are not being helped. We send our Jewish children to college totally unprepared. And why is that? It's because what Harlene and I have learned, we have to start earlier. Maybe as early as preschool, definitely elementary, to train our Jewish children to be proud. And when they are bullied, when they are harassed online, when they see someone else harassed or bullied, that they should do something. So we're here to say, let's start earlier. Let's help our college kids starting in elementary school. Why do we start so late? We're Jews, right? We're smart. Let's get to this.
Let me ask, prior to October 7th, were most of the incidents of anti-Semitism that you were hearing about linked to anti-Israel sentiment, or did it change?
All right. I can't speak for everyone, but in my experience, it wasn't anti-Israel. It was anti-Semitism that had always been around, but it was accelerating. What about you, Lynn?
I would say what we were hearing, and these are age-old tropes. Jews control the media. Jews control the world. Jews are cheap. And I think the real rise might have come from social media, and it's gotten really bad. Whether they're gaming with people and they're in a little group and then hearing the anti-Semitic slurs. Kids feel very free online where you can't see them and you don't know who they are to issue these slurs and stereotypes because they don't get caught, right? I would attribute the rise since the war really to social media where Jewish children, they feel defenseless. But now we have solutions that we're going to offer you. We are here with strategies and reporting techniques and most importantly, work with your family as a team.
I also want to share with you that we did an interview with the former president of the Roman Jewish community when we were in Europe several months ago. And she said that during COVID, people, especially children, moved their lives online. And it has really been this profound move to online living that really set the scene for this explosion of anti-Semitism. Does that square with what you're saying about social media?
Definitely. Social media changed the way people live, changed the way people interact. There's so much less face-to-face interaction. It's on the screen. So that puts a barrier between the sender and the receiver.
One of the pillars that you talk about in the book is combating anti-Semitism through a lens, when it's appropriate, of empathy. And what seems to be missing when you're not face-to-face with someone, how can there be a full experience of any humanity? That's where the empathy kind of goes missing. Can you talk about the role that empathy plays in the resources that you give to children and families in addressing anti-Semitism?
You will find that our guidebook is heavily involved with empathy because that is Lynn's ultimate passion. And she's written a book that's been out several years now. So I'm going to let her talk about empathy since she loves it so much.
As do I, by the way. I'm a big fan of empathy.
Another fan of empathy. Thank you. So 17 years ago, we're in the youth center, Harlene and I, And we don't make things up. We're following the research and seeing the world of social emotional skills by an organization called Castle. To me, empathy was the most important skill. To have empathy for yourself as a Jewish child, right? Empathy for yourself, empathy for others, and then finally to be an upstander and take action. So empathy being job one in the center, we would teach all the kids empathy to walk in others' shoes. So empathy is such a great tool upon which to take action. We want Jewish children to advocate for themselves and to advocate for all the Jewish people and to advocate for other kids. The Muslim girl, their hijabs are being taken off. The Asian kid, the stereotypes there. The Black, the LGBT. So as Jewish people, Tikkun Olam, right? We're there to repair the world and to help the other. Empathy being job one in this book, that it's a scaffold for kids and parents and families to realize that this is who we are, isn't it? As Jews, this is what I was taught growing up, that empathy really is where you start.
I think you make a compelling case in the book that one of the things that empathy really sprouts from is pride, right? You have to be proud of yourself to value yourself, and then you can see value in other people. Both of you put your own personal histories in the book. Harlene, I'm wondering if you can speak to one of the anecdotes that you share about your own personal history and what led you to feel pride in your Jewishness.
Well, I say in the book that in my early years, we were the sole Jewish family in our community. And anti-Semitism was strong. First of all, our neighbors had never met a Jew. What's a Jew? They look at you through questioning glasses. Being very naive, I had my first introduction to outright anti-Semitism when I was 5 years old because I was entering kindergarten. And I'd been playing with all the neighborhood kids, and I always said my whole name. Hello, I'm Harlene Lichter. Harlene, 2 syllables, Lichter. So my mother was very overly protective. I'm the oldest of 3. And she insisted on walking me to school. Of course, I didn't like that. What kid wants their mother walking them to school? So I couldn't wait to the day that she said, Harlene, you can walk alone. Well, it came. So I was up bright and early. I'm the first one in the line of kids walking to our school, which was a good 4 blocks away. And I'm walking along, and I hear voices behind me. And I thought they were saying Harlene Lichter, but they were not. They were saying dirty Jew, dirty Jew. So there I was at 5 with all these kids I had been playing with. And I suddenly knew that they were looking at me, as I said earlier, through different lenses. So that type of incident affects one for life. I'm much older than 5 now, and I can still remember the feeling that I got. And Lynn should tell you about hers.
Let me ask you one question, though, before we pass it to Lynn. This was such a formative experience, and you know now about early childhood development and how these things might leave the memory, but they stay in the body and the soul. What do you remember about how you came away from that into a place of self-pride as opposed to this horror at being the subject of that kind of ridicule?
First of all, I had a very strong family background. I had been raised Jewishly. My father was one of 7, and my grandfather on the father's side was one of 9. One of his brothers was a rabbi. And on my mother's side, my grandmother, father, had been one of the prime movers of bringing Jews to this country in a certain part of Pennsylvania. And they named the shul after him. So I felt very strong about my Judaism, and that pulled me through. What I decided I wanted to do was let my friends know a little bit about what I like. And so we started that in our community. When we had Passover, we'd buy boxes and boxes of matzah. to give out to the neighbors. They all liked it with butter. It had to have butter on it. But they were eating the matzah, and because there are many Catholics in the area, comparing it to what they did in their churches, but that its meaning was different for us.
You know, it's interesting because what you're describing is that they're the only Jewish family in this area, and people approach that with curiosity. Curiosity can go in the direction of, I'd like to try the matzah. It's all about how you harness that. And Lynn, what about you? What are your earliest experiences of anti-Semitism, and how did you pull yourself through to a place of pride?
First, I have to say I'm learning new things about Harlene, which is a lot of fun. For me, raised downtown Trenton on a block that was very diverse. It was a great place to grow up. Lots of Jewish kids. We come out, neighborhood, row homes and play games, and it was great. I want to talk about my bat mitzvah first. I was very proud to have my bat mitzvah on only a Friday night. We weren't important enough to have Saturday yet. So I did my speech on Emma Lazarus, and just such a inspiration, proudly Jewish, wrote the poem at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, giving back, just a really proud. So most of my girlfriends were Italian Catholic. I was going to the bathroom one night in one of my friends' houses, and the parents were talking. My friends were downstairs, and I can see it visually. I was standing there. I'm in 8th or 9th grade, and I was frozen because I heard the Jews killed our Lord, and I froze. So here I am in their house. Now I'm feeling not welcome, and that is the day I became the other. And so from that point on, I had to hide my Jewish identity. I was the type of kid that didn't go to my parents and said, explain this to me. And there are a lot of kids like that. We don't want them to be on their own, but I was too embarrassed or didn't think my parents would be helpful. So that was the page turn, and I was very shy to share my Jewish identity at that point. And I think today that makes me empathetic to others who are feeling like the other and to walk in their shoes and want to help them. And I think that's why I do the work that I do.
I think the book relies on the notion that adults in children's lives are Jewish and are proudly Jewish. What do you say to kids whose grown-ups, whose people around them might not feel the same pride that your parents and your forebears shared with you?
I think today a lot of parents and grandparents need to step up and do more. People should share, mothers, fathers, grandparents, share their stories of Jewish pride and identity, because the kids will listen to them, and teachers should be doing that as well. And you see in the book, the team concept, these are extraordinary times. We have to do more, like I just described to you, so that your daughter or your son can come to you and say, today, mom or dad or Zadie or Bubby, I was made to feel like the other. And they know they're not so alone, because kids feel alone today, our Jewish kids.
Harlene, do you want to talk a little bit about what the team approach is? It's an acronym.
Each letter stands for something related to sharing with the family, because it's easier to get to success when you share the responsibility. And I want to backtrack a little bit. I am very concerned today about the families where only one of the parent is Jewish. I mean, the statistics are in the United States, 70%, 70. So 70% of children who are being raised Jewish have one parent who is non-Jewish. What I have seen, and I taught religious schools in a Reform congregation for about 20 years. I'm talking from experience. Often the non-Jewish person was the one who accepted the major responsibility of making the child feel Jewish.
That is so interesting. Can I ask you, when you say that there's such profound rates of intermarriage in this country, and yet you saw that it was often the non-Jewish parent who took it upon themselves to really uphold the tradition, you started that by saying that you were concerned about the intermarriage rates. It sounds like you see some of the benefits. What concerns you about these numbers?
What concerns me is that the Jewish person does not draw toward Judaism that maybe even the last generation felt. And that is my concern.
So the intermarriage itself doesn't necessarily mean XYZ about the children, but it's that the parents themselves, Judaism wasn't a central or focal point of the identity.
So I want to discuss this, but I'm going to flip it with a different lens. I am on the board of my local JCC. We have 300 Jewish children every summer. It is packed with Jewish pride, identity, Israel, fun, Gaga, all those sorts of things. Gaga's important.
For those who don't know, it's like the quintessential
it's a ball.
Summer game at the Jewish
From
summer
Israel.
camps.
So half of the children who come to our JCC camp do not belong to a synagogue. So we are cramming 2 months of the whole year into Jewish pride and identity. And clearly, that's not enough. So in my area, unfortunately, there is a dwindling of membership for shuls, but it is concerning and makes the JCC camp even more important. One other thing that we haven't said is that children with a very strong ethnic or religious identity make better upstanders. That means if you're proud of being Jewish, you're more likely to stand up for another kid, Jewish or otherwise. And so religious and ethnic identity is so important.
It's something that leads to civic engagement, not just Jewish engagement, but real civic responsibility.
Being a citizen, being an upstander, a child is bullied, you stand up for them. Online, you're reporting what you're seeing, you don't join the crowd. So ethnic and Jewish identity is so important.
You know, in terms of living proudly and feeling very firmly planted in an identity, the book speaks about communal living, right? Living in community really helps foster that. And yet the book also says that a lot of people are turned off now from communal activities in Jewish spaces merely because of security concerns. What are your thoughts on that kind of fear that breaks into communal living and thus Jewish pride?
Honestly, today we have more security, but I think that I would urge Jewish people to join and support shuls to build up Jewish pride and identity, support the Federation. I mean, there's so many different things you can do, but I think I would fall back to the home where you celebrate Shabbat, you're telling the stories, and it's got to be fun and it's got to be interactive. You make it a joyous, fun food, culture, arts and crafts, movies, books.
Music.
There's so many things you can do.
And it just occurs to me also, you know, that when you have Shabbat dinner in your home, you can invite other families. It doesn't have to be a solitary experience. You can build community even within your own house.
Yeah, we had that in our young marriage. We had 3 kids, 2 girls and a son. So the son especially used to invite, I think, almost his whole class, and most of them were non-Jews, to our seders.
So that's pride.
And we had to put extra boards on the table. Those kids enjoyed it because it was their friend group, and they picked up knowing that Jews are not all dirty. I made sure that I cleaned the house beforehand. I mean, it was a nice white tablecloth and linen napkins, because you are telling them about the glory of being a Jew. But you don't say it verbally, you show them. And I think that's very important. The other thing that I want to say, and I'm saying this from my background in education, the problem that often occurs when a Jewish child experiences anti-Semitism and goes to an adult, and we heard this a lot at Kidsbridge, the adult makes it worse. And so what we've done in our ancillary program, and this is a program that uses the book but has 3 other components, is we teach the children how to identify a trusted adult.
That's critical.
There's certain characteristics you can look for so that the advice that you get is supportive, not negative. And that is often overlooked.
This acronym, TEAM, is really the foundational piece of the book. Together, eliminate anti-Semitism. Momentum is what constitutes TEAM. Can you tell us what it means?
I think that with this increasing anti-Semitism, a middle schooler comes home after school and says, "What did you do today?" Nothing is no longer acceptable. Once a week, we're suggesting that parents and kids team together, that this is a place to listen. They use the skills of active listening, and that these extraordinary moments of being online or bias or hate or intimidation or bullying, that kids need to work with their parents, hoping that parents will be listening to us and understand if they can do a little, do something, maybe 20 minutes every week, not waiting till there's a moment of hate or bias, but being proactive and again, making it fun. Books, watch a movie, discuss, more interactive, not so static. And again, it can be a joyous, fun time. So that's the new concept of the team. Parents know this. Maybe your middle school kids will push back. But in light of what's going on today, we really need to support our kids more.
Speaking of supporting children, what were you going to say about identifying trusted adults?
So trusted adults is something that you probably knew, Harlene, but I felt I stumbled on because you get these moments from the kids and it's like the angels are singing. Go to a trusted adult, we would tell the kids. And then kids start saying like, I went to a trusted adult and they did nothing. Or I went to a trusted adult and they made it worse. So we build interactive activities for them to discover maybe it's the bus driver, maybe it's the principal, maybe it's your Sunday school teacher, maybe it's your rabbi, that it doesn't always have to be parents as a trusted adult. So that's something that I think we really do well at KidsBridge for illuminating kids that they have choices. And here's the other epiphany. I went to an adult and they didn't help. You know what, kids? And this is what I would say a lot. If you go to a person, a trusted adult, and it doesn't work, and that might happen for you, then you have to identify a second trusted adult and go to them.
I think what I hear a lot now in terms of these experiences are that kids might be feeling alienated, alone, ostracized because of a relationship with Israel. And they will go to an adult to describe a subjective experience of not feeling supported. And the adult will come at them with, well, this is my thought and my opinion about Israel, so your feeling is not valid. And you guys are really tackling a difficult thing because adults are having trouble with each other, staying regulated around really fierce debate. And we are transmitting that inability to bring empathy to such a difficult conversation. Harlene, is there anything you want to say about that?
Well, Jews have always argued that's part of our DNA. So you have to acknowledge that not everyone sees what's going on in Israel the same way. But that doesn't give the adult license to disregard the question. The child doesn't care what your opinion is. This child has a problem, and you as the adult have to center on what you can do to help the child solve that problem. It's maturity with empathy. You've got to put yourself in that child's shoes and forget about your own feeling about what's going on in Israel. And that's not an easy task.
It's really interesting thinking about Israel. I've heard that Krav Maga, which is the martial art that comes from there, the first 3 things you must learn in Krav Maga: walk away, walk away, walk away. And there are examples in this book of when the appropriate thing developmentally is to walk away. Children tend to come to adults with a feeling problem, not a political problem. And I just want to say that I think the book does a really good job of understanding that they can be separated and that meeting kids where they themselves are is just critical. Harlene, I want to ask you a little bit about why you decided to focus on age 8 through 18 and not earlier or later.
Earlier children, you have to talk about friendship, likenesses, differences, and feeling good about yourself. That's the foundation. At around 7 or 8, children start to develop empathy for themselves a little bit. If they make a mistake, many of them don't dissolve into tears anymore. They may pout and they'll just say, oh, got to do better next time. And at that point, they can begin to better understand others' feelings as well. So you can start with simple strategies at age 8, ones that the children can understand and do. And of course, then you build upon those. And we say this in the book, you know your child. So if you want to start earlier, be our guest.
So one of the other concepts that's so strong in the book is this notion of an upstander. Lynn, can you tell us what an upstander is?
I found the upstander word about 15 years ago in a book by Samantha Powers, She was in the previous Obama administration, and she wrote this book, and she only used the word once. And I saw the word, and it was like the angels were singing, like upstander. So we started using the word in the youth center. The state started using it, New Jersey State, and now it's a national word. So an upstander is a person, a child, an adult who stands up and speaks out. And those skills don't come naturally to us. They have to be practiced. So in tandem with upstander concept is the concept of practice. You will be called a name. Your friend will be called a name. You will be bullied. It's coming. You will hear antisemitism. We have 7 evidence-based strategies from the guru of bullying, Stan Davis from Maine, to teach kids they can do something immediately, wait a little bit and do it later or much later, but do something, right? Because there's a problem here. Another concept I have is the concept of the system. So in a class, say there's anti-Semitism. Actually, I just heard a story from a 7th grader who a kid was saying Heil Hitler, and he didn't know what to do, right? So his parents are very active parents, and they're actually meeting with the school administration to change the system where any bias is not welcome, and that the school administration takes action and takes responsibility. I have seen, in doing this for 23 years, many instances where a school administration will sweep it under the rug, hoping it will go away. And it doesn't, because there's something broken in the system.
Let me ask you a little about the scenario that you're describing. There's this sort of adage that hurt people, right? So the kid who's receiving the Nazi salute, we know that child is being targeted and hurt. The child who's saying that, it strikes me that something is not well with the child who says that. Do you have guidance for educators on how to address the children who are doing the bullying?
So, rule of thumb, and this is tried and true, in an anti-Semitic situation, you, as the adult, take care of the child that's been targeted first. But that doesn't excuse you from talking to the child who was the instigator. And I did not say punishing. My words were talking. And that's where we as adults often fail. That's such an opportunity to help that child so that maybe the next time, at least he or she stops before he says or does something.
It strikes me also that this sort of move that we've all made online makes it difficult, again, to humanize the other person and to see that anybody who does this kind of things deserve attention as well because something isn't right. One of the things that you emphasize in the book is that you can say to a person who has made a very offensive remark to you, what exactly do you mean when you use those words? And I found that to be really inspiring. I wonder if it's going to be harder for children to do it in this environment that's so polarized and incendiary. But it seems like that is a lesson in civics that adults would benefit from as well. Curiosity before the yelling. So thank you for bringing that into this book. I want to end by asking both of you a little bit about some personal things. Each of you has, within your own extended family, a real diversity of opinion about Israel and about Israel's conduct in this war. Now, that does not mean that either one of you has stepped away from your pride as Jews and the pride that you want to transmit to your children, et cetera, et cetera. But what can you tell people who might be listening to this interview and thinking, Lynne and Harlene have it easy because everyone in their family must feel exactly the same way? What are some thoughts you have? And are you yourself in that boat?
I think you need a tongue guard so that you can save yourself from biting your tongue so much. I know I could use one. I have to be careful when I'm with them. I have to listen to my words so that I don't offend them because I worry a lot and I'm scared, but I can't say anything.
Because you don't want to jeopardize the relationship. And ultimately, they will do what they will do and you need to preserve your connection.
I think my family situation is smaller, but similar, that I have one family member on one side and one on the other. So one is Israel, go, wonderful, whatever. And then on the other side, but what about the Palestinian women and children who are suffering? And I think my husband's probably in the middle. What I try to do is active listening, right? You don't have to offer a solution. You don't have to offer your opinion, active listening, but also draw a distinction between the government and the people of Israel. So I love Israel. I love the people of Israel. A lot of our kids don't know the history today. So this is an opportunity to share the true history of Israel, because a lot of Jews don't know the history of Israel. They don't know where we're
I
from.
think active listening sounds like a really important thing to be doing intergenerationally and across political divides, not offering solutions. And really, one of the things that you guys are both doing beautifully is emphasizing that even within Jewish spaces, we can counter hatred, not by silencing different factions of our own families, but by hearing them and trying to stay connected. I think that's a pretty powerful lesson.
For kids and for adults.
Probably, especially for adults. Lynne and Harlene, thank you so much for, Lynne, welcoming us into your home. Harlene, you made quite the schlep.
But it was worth it.
And we look forward to getting word out about your book. Thank you both again. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to What Came After wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us online at whatcameafter.com.
Promise me you'll come with me when I go. And stay with me. Take my hand, I won't let go. And everything's lighting up. Oh, the sun burns so much brighter now. And the warm light glows like fire now. And you know I won't let go. No, wherever you go, I go. Speak to me. Tell me all that your heart dreams. And stay with me till the morning sunlight sings. And everything's lighting up. Oh, the sun burns so much brighter now. And the warm light glows like fire now. And you know I won't let go. No. And everything's lighting up. Oh, the sun and moon burn so much brighter now. And the warm light glows like fire now. Oh, the years come up and go. Oh, the seeds we plant, every stitch you sow. And you know I